It's worth starting this exploration with a very distinctive spot, Skanderbeg Square, the focal point of Tirana. Is a place steeped in cultural history and reflects the spirit of Albania. The square's focal point is the impressive monument to Skanderbeg, a national hero who inspired Albania's fight for freedom. This monument is a symbol of resistance and national pride. We'll return to this figure during our exploration of Albania. The square is home to the National History Museum, an excellent starting point for understanding Albania's rich and complex history. The building is decorated with a mosaic depicting 13 Albanians from different periods of the country's history. Mosaic art is one of the symbols of Albania, created here in ancient times. Even the floor of Skanderbeg Square is modeled after a mosaic. The interior of the National History Museum houses exhibits that take visitors on a journey through centuries of Albanian history. It is the largest museum in Albania. Unfortunately, the museum was undergoing renovations during our visit. Skanderbeg Square also houses the Palace of Culture, housing the National Opera, the National Theatre, and the National Library. This location is the heart of Tirana's cultural life. This distinctive socialist-style building also houses a cafe, sheltered from the blazing sun. During our visit in July, it was 40 degrees Celsius. This location is also a meeting point for local guides. You can find them online, and they charge as much as you want to estimate their cost. In front of the Palace of Culture, many also have to pick up a souvenir with the inscription, "I love you," meaning Tirana. The stamp is a symbol of Tirana. It's even placed on traffic lights. Located almost on Skanderbeg Square is the Ethem Mosque, one of the most important Ottoman monuments in Tirana. Construction of the mosque began in 1789 at the initiative of Mal Bey and was completed in 1823 by his son, Ethem Bey. It was the only functioning mosque in the country during the era of dictator Enver Hoxha, but not for Albanians. All religious activities were banned under communism, as Albania was supposed to be an atheistic state. Only foreigners were allowed to enter the mosque. It reopened to the public in 1991. The mosque is not a large structure. Its proportions and attention to detail exude peace and simplicity. The greatest treasure of the mosque, known as the Central Mosque, is its interior. Decorated with exceptionally rare and beautiful friezes, they depict scenes from nature: trees, flowers, waterfalls, bridges. They are unique in Islamic religious art. Visitors can enter during specific hours. It's worth checking in advance, usually 3 hours before noon and 2 hours after noon. Tours are free, but a donation is recommended. It's impossible to see the Central Mosque without the building that forms its prominent backdrop. In fact, the mosque is dominated by the clock tower. Completed in 1830, it was funded by wealthy families from Tirana. Due to its recognizability, the tower is even featured on the coat of arms of Tirana. It is made of stone. You can enter the tower and climb the stairs to a height of 35 meters to admire the Central Mosque and Skanderbeg Square. Until 1970, it was the city's tallest building. Moving beyond the immediate surroundings of Skanderbeg Square, you can encounter modern architectural forms that Tirana is gaining in popularity. This is an installation called the Cloud. The 7-meter-tall architectural structure, designed by Japanese artist Sue Fujimoto, looks quite enigmatic from a distance, resembling a cloud in its form. You can enter it and see how it was built from the inside. The structure covers 350 square meters. The interior features steps and small terraces. Everything has been designed to serve as a venue for intimate cultural events. This cloud-like artistic form is intended to symbolize the modernity toward which Tirana and all of Albania are heading. Unfortunately, the whole thing would be more impressive if it were snow-white everywhere, like a cloud. Unfortunately, after a few years, it has become somewhat neglected. Much more care is being taken in Albania for its temples. We have already visited the central mosque. It is now the Great Mosque of Tirana, or the Mosque of the Mosques. There are 8 smaller mosques in Tirana. However, the decision was made to build one spacious, main mosque, which will be the largest in the Balkans and will accommodate the followers of Islam in the Albanian capital. The construction was co-financed by the Turkish government and is indeed reminiscent of mosques in Istanbul. The mosque's dome is 30 meters high, and its 4 minarets rise to 50 meters. The mosque can accommodate approximately 5,000 people. Unfortunately, it was not yet open to the public during our visit. Albania was ruled by Enver Hoxha for several decades, a regime characterized by state atheism. During this time, religious practice was banned and condemned. Now, after the dominant Islam, Catholicism and Orthodoxy are the next religions. We are now visiting the Roman Catholic Cathedral of St. Paul. This modern church was opened in the early 2000s. Many areas of this church evoke the figures of Mother Teresa and Pope John Paul II. However, it must be admitted that the interior of this church is rather minimalist. St. Paul's Cathedral is situated on the banks of the Lana River. The stream and banks themselves would make a pleasant place for recreation in the capital. Unfortunately, the river is heavily polluted. Perhaps one day, an idea will arise to change this. Continuing our exploration of religious sites in Tirana, we come to the majestic Cathedral of the Resurrection of Christ. The church is built on a square plan, and its 30-meter dome stands out in the Tirana landscape. We admire far more ornamentation here than in a Catholic church. The interior is filled with numerous frescoes and mosaics, including a gigantic mosaic in the dome. And, of course, intricate icons. The Cathedral of the Resurrection of Christ is also a new building, opened in 2014. Interestingly, there used to be an Orthodox church nearby, dating from 1865, which was closed in 1967 and destroyed by the communist government. In its place, the International Tirana Hotel was built, where we are staying overnight. This feels rather strange. However, today, all religions coexist, both figuratively and literally. Churches of many denominations are adjacent to each other, and the faithful are tolerant of other faiths. Differences of faith also occur within families. This is another example of the symbolic Albanian mosaic. This monumental structure was also intended to be a temple, but the god was a dictator. During the communist era, all religion was banned, and Enver Hoxha was instead worshipped. The place known as the Pyramid in Tirana was intended to be a museum, or even a mausoleum, for the leader. He trusted his daughter, who designed it. The building, completed in 1988, was the most expensive ever built in communist Albania. The pyramid served as a museum for only 3 years. In the early 1990s, after the fall of communism, it housed another radio station, a dance club, a conference center, and, during the Kosovo War, a NATO base. Subsequent transformations only disfigured the site, and the building fell into disrepair. However, residents enjoyed meeting in the area, and young people even climbed the mountain. In 2017, the decision was made to symbolically return the building to its residents. The Dutch were responsible for the project, and while Albanians would likely like to forget the old days, the structure has now been transformed into a welcoming space, encouraging people to spend time within it. The space inside the building, as well as in the so-called cubes on the outskirts, has been designated for educational purposes. The once wild climb to the pyramid is now made easier by hundreds of steps, but it truly requires considerable strength. From the spot where a gigantic red star once protruded, one can now admire views of the changing surroundings. As the designers say, the pyramid has become a monument dedicated to those who managed to overcome and survive dictators. The structure gains a magnificent setting at night, and it's also possible to climb it. As you can see, there are plenty of climbers. After the climb, a rest is in order, and the summit of the pyramid, gleaming at night, is pure pleasure. Those who still have the energy can let loose and indulge in the nightlife. An open-air disco with a pyramid as a backdrop is a unique experience. By day, we return to Albanian reality. Albanian dictator Enver Hoxha did not live to see the opening of the museum created in his honor. Instead, he lived quite close to the pyramid under construction. Today, you can admire the former leader's villa from behind a fence. Some say it's modest considering the dictator's grandeur, though impressive considering the Albanians' poverty at the time. It should be noted, however, that it has undergone some modifications over the years. An exhibition was once held here. The villa is now closed to the public. Previously, an entire district known as the Leaders' Block was off-limits to residents, due to its location among the most important figures in the country. Nearby, but still in the center of Tirana, we encounter one of the representatives of a completely different construction system. Bunkers and shelters scattered throughout the country are a symbol of Albania. The one in the center of the capital is now open to the public as a museum. Bunkar 2, a former tunnel built between 1981 and 1986. It was a bunker belonging to the Ministry of Interior Affairs. Beneath the Ministry of Interior building lies a network of tunnels with 24 rooms and an apartment for the Minister of Interior Affairs. The entrance and exit were built quite recently, as originally it could only be accessed from the Ministry building. The underground headquarters was connected to other units in the country, including the largest one built for the dictator himself. Therefore, we venture outside the center of Tirana to see this largest bunker, where the leader Enver himself was said to have made his home. Moving through the streets of Tirana, we head towards what is now known as Bunkar 1. From the main road, we enter a narrow, dark tunnel. From the very beginning, an aura of mystery begins to surround us. Guards indicate a parking spot and forbid filming, as it is still a military installation. This place could be quite charming. You can wander along the mountainside as if on a trail, if not for this dark past. Fortunately, we can film before entering the bunker. No one really knows how many such bunkers or shelters there are in Albania alone. Albanians say between 300,000 and 600,000, ranging from small gun turrets to so-called mushrooms, which could accommodate a few people, which we'll show you later in this series, to large complexes, labyrinths like this one. The country's bunkering project was implemented in the 1970s and early 1980s. Residents were convinced that other countries were just waiting to conquer this wonderful Albania. Creating a sense of external threat allowed them to control society. Enver Hoxha, fascinated by North Korea's tunnel system, decided to build something similar in his own country. Gradually becoming obsessed with a possible attack from outside, he planned for the bunker to serve as a living space for himself and his closest officials. Bunker 1 was only open to tourists in 2016. Built in 1978, the complex has 5 stories extending underground, also intended to protect against nuclear attack. There are 106 rooms and a total area of over 2,600 square meters. What could be the setting for a science fiction film actually happened here? Many rooms house museum exhibitions, showcasing the successive stages of Albanian history. The most impressive apartment is the one for the leader himself. These are his private quarters, a bedroom with a private bathroom, and offices for official meetings. This contrasts sharply with the aesthetic other rooms. However, the one that also serves as a cinema is truly impressive. The people gathered in these tunnels were supposed to live as if they were on the surface, and the surface population was unaware of what was unfolding beneath their feet. Fortunately, the ghastly vision of a select few, led by a dictator, living here never came to fruition. Is it a pleasant place? Definitely not. However, it is incredibly interesting, allowing for a tangible experience and insight into Albania's recent past. In the next installments of our Albania travel series, you will also be able to see other bunkers and shelters located in various parts of the country. Another reason why tourists venture beyond Tirana to this area is the Gjipe Express cable car. It's one of the most popular tourist attractions in and around Tirana. And it's no wonder, as the cable car is part of the Gjipe National Park and takes tourists to the summit of the mountain of the same name. It's said to be the longest cable car in the Balkans. It's less than 5 kilometers long. The journey to the summit takes 15 minutes. The views are endless. Unfortunately, the cable car is closed one day a week. During our visit, it was a Tuesday. Looking down on Tirana, many people remark that the city is becoming more colorful every day, as if trying to distance itself from its grim past. Currently, approximately 600,000 residents live here. This area has been inhabited since ancient times. During Ottoman rule in 1614, Tirana was initially a small settlement, overshadowed by the larger cities in the region. The turning point came in 1920, when the city was declared the capital of independent Albania. During World War II, Tirana was occupied by the Italians and the Germans. After the war, it fell under the rule of a communist regime. After the dictator's death, Albania regained some peace until 1997, when civil war broke out. 20th century Albania strives to be a modern state, and cities follow Western models. Construction or renovations are everywhere. Many tourists avoid Tirana, considering it uninteresting. The Albanian capital may not be the most beautiful city, but that doesn't mean it's uninteresting, and it's certainly worth a visit to learn more about Albania's history. Tirana comes alive at night. The roads are indeed crowded during the day, but residents and tourists alike usually avoid the sun-drenched areas. Evenings become more pleasant. The square fills with both locals and tourists. It's a meeting place for entertainment. The beautifully exposed central mosque rises majestically above Skanderbeg Square. The Palace of Culture with its opera house also catches the eye. This is the Cathedral of the Resurrection of Christ. In the evenings, Tirana offers shopping and restaurants. Then, when the weather cools down, it's time for a proper meal. Nightlife here continues until late, and let's not be surprised that even the youngest participate. Tirana keeps you awake for a long time. I'll leave Albania. We're heading 30 kilometers northeast of Tirana. Here, at an altitude of 600 meters above sea level, at the foot of a mountain, lies the city of Krujë. Krujë was the country's first historical capital. Its history dates back to the 2nd century BC, when an Illyrian city, also called Albanopolis, stood on one of the surrounding hills. In subsequent years, the inhabitants moved their settlement higher, creating today's Krujë. Krujë currently has a population of around 20,000, and attracts many more tourists. Krujë sprawls charmingly across the mountainside and surrounding smaller hills. The town's greatest attraction is the citadel. It's not only a valuable monument but also a place of importance to the Albanian nation. The fortress was the seat of the Albanian hero, Skanderbeg, in the 10th century. But Krujë Castle existed even earlier. Ottoman forces attempted to capture the castle 3 times. These attempts were unsuccessful. Only 10 years after Skanderbeg's death did the 4th siege of Krujë end in a Turkish victory. The fortress is surrounded by walls approximately 800 meters long. In the upper part are the remains of the original castle from the 10th century. Initially, it served as an observation and defense tower, and later as a clock tower with a bell. Unfortunately, wars and earthquakes did not bind it to the fortress. For now, I'm still holding on. In the lower part of the citadel, there are residential and economic buildings from the Ottoman era. There is also a house of prayer for the Bektashis, considered the 4th religion of Albania. The central section consists of the ruins of the Sultan Mehmed the Conqueror Mosque. Only a fragment of the minaret survives. Currently, the citadel's focal point is the reconstructed castle. The building we see here opened in 1982. After renovations by the communist authorities, the work was supervised by Enver Hoxha's daughter, who, as we recall, designed the pyramid in Tirana. The building was created for the impressive Skanderbeg Museum at his birthplace and residence. Skanderbeg is always depicted like a hero from epic historical films, a larger-than-life figure, a menacing gaze, and noble features. In reality, he was apparently less impressive. The museum's collections focus on the hero himself and the lives of the 10th century people in general. A publication about Skanderbeg is available. Paintings depicting the hero's story are located throughout the building. You can also admire the throne, the sword of the national hero, and the famous helmet of Skanderbeg with its characteristic goat head. Unfortunately, these are replicas. The originals are in Vienna. The Albanian hero is compared to Zeus, who was fed goat's milk by nymphs. The goat is a symbol of agility and cunning. Legend has it that Skanderbeg lured the Turks into a trap by sending stadokus with candles on their horns into the mountains at night. The Turks believed this was the escape of Skanderbeg's soldiers and were ambushed. Where did the name Skanderbeg come from? His real name was Gjipe Kastrioti, or Jerzy Kastriota in Polish. He lived at the Sultan's court for many years, learning strategy and fighting. The Sultan gave him the nickname Iskender after Alexander the Great. He also received the noble title Bey, originally Beg. This gave rise to Skanderbeg. Over time, George Kastriota turned against the Turks, reached the castle in Krujë, and hoisted his family's emblem, a two-headed eagle on a red field, which now forms the Albanian flag. Skanderbeg united the Albanian families and, at their head, wrote the history of a large part of Europe. After a hearty dose of history, you can head to the castle terrace, which offers views of the citadel, the city, and the surrounding area. Another important sight can also be seen from the terrace. Inside the citadel, it's worth visiting the ethnographic museum, housed in the former home of the aristocratic Albanian Toptani family. The owner was a close associate of Skanderbeg. On the ground floor, you can see craft tools for wine and reiki production, wool processing, and oil pressing. There are also millstones, food storage facilities, pantries, and workshops. On the first floor, we visit the living quarters. As many as 90% of the collection consists of original exhibits dating back 300 years. Here, a guest room has been recreated, featuring a beautiful wooden ceiling and small windows in the walls. Why were they created? The housekeeper sat on the other side and could discreetly supervise the guests, checking if anything needed to be delivered. It's worth noting the division of the space into men's and women's. The men's room is hung with weapons and musical instruments, while the women's rooms house everyday utensils, wooden ornaments, and sheepskins on the floor. You can also view collections of clothing here. You can even try them on. Virtually, but with a sense of excitement. And this is clearly the greatest attraction of the ethnographic museum. Unique. Thank you for the show. Besides the citadel, Krujë also houses a traditional Ottoman bazaar. It was renovated in the 1960s, but you can still feel the atmosphere of bygone centuries. Some of the small shops are also workshops where tablecloths, napkins, kilims, carpets, and traditional Albanian folk hats, the kalesh, are made. After a solid dose of folklore and history, we set off to explore other regions of the country. In Tirana and Krujë, we discovered the Albanians' turbulent journey to their current state. We hope you've been intrigued by the places we've shown. And yet, there's always something left for which there wasn't time in our tight travel schedule. From the center of the country, we head north, heading towards the city of Shkodër. Check out more interesting Albanian sites in the remaining installments of our Albanian travel series. See you soon. We invite you on a journey to places that have long been hidden from the world. From wild mountain peaks to picturesque valleys. Stone-paved streets of small towns and turquoise sea waters.
Welcome to Albania, or Mir Sevini Nipuri. Is Albania a mountainous or coastal country, traditional or modern, eastern or western? Or perhaps all in one? It's a land of many contrasts. Discover it with us on our 2-week journey through Albania. A
land of great heroes, fearless leaders, and powerful people. Ancient secrets that permeate modern life. Authentic places where every moment carries history. A harmony of cultures, religions, and respect for diversity. Albania awaits those who desire to discover its multicolored mosaic. Let's begin. Albania, Part 2, Shkodër. We continue our journey through Albania, exploring the country's most interesting sites. In the previous episode, we showed you Tirana and Krujë. Now we head north to the city of Shkodër. The route from Tirana to Shkodër takes less than 2 hours. Arriving in the city, we see the hill of Sveti Stefan towering above everything else in the distance. We stay at a small hotel in the city center, the Çoçaq Boutique Hotel. Its high standard makes it highly recommended, although it's difficult to find in the densely built-up area, and even more difficult to pronounce. Shkodër is the 88th largest city in northern Albania. One of the oldest in this part of the Balkans, it is located near the border with Montenegro and is also a popular destination for excursions from that country. It lies at the foot of the North Albanian mountains, offering numerous mountain trails. From Shkodër, you can also set off for the famous Albanian Lake Komen. Since ancient times, the city, with its more than 100-year history, has been a key trading and military center in the region. Today, it is an important economic, educational, and cultural center for the country. Shkodër is situated on Lake Skadar. The border between Albania and Montenegro runs across this vast body of water. Lake Skadar covers an area of 368 square kilometers, 1/3 of which lies on the Albanian side. Its surface area varies throughout the year. The lake is approximately 48 kilometers long and up to 25 kilometers wide. The bottom of Lake Skadar is a crypto depression, meaning it lies below sea level. The average depth is 8 to 10 meters, but in some places it reaches as low as 44 meters. The shoreline is very diverse. The area is a national park. Around 250 species of birds and 45 species of fish can be observed here. The Buna River flows from Lake Skadar, connecting it with the Adriatic Sea. We will return to this river shortly and explain the best place to observe its unique course around one of the greatest monuments of Shkodër. In the center of Shkodër is Democracy Square. Here, the cultural center of the city and region, the Mideni Theatre, is located. The theatre was named after the Albanian poet and was built in 1956. Although the local national stage was established in 1949, it was the second in Albania. On the eastern side of Democracy Square stands a building distinguished by its tower. It's an English clock tower from 1868, designed in the style of a medieval castle. An English lord wanted to open an Anglican church in Shkodër and convert the city's residents to this faith. However, they persisted, and in 1990, the building was converted into a museum. The entertainment and social life in Shkodër centers around the main street of Rruga Kolë Idromeno, also known as Pedanalia. It's essentially a pedestrian street lined with countless bars, restaurants, and bakeries. In the morning, it's still a quiet, uncrowded, and even precious place. It must be admitted that Albanians don't like to wake up too early. But before noon, it's the perfect place for their beloved coffee. The main pedestrian street fills up and becomes vibrant only in the evening and at night. We'll soon show you what happens here at dusk. Strolling along Rruga Kolë Idromeno, and from many other points in the city, the white facade of this massive mosque catches your eye. This is the Abu Bakr Mosque, also known simply as the Great Mosque. The building, opened in 1995, was built on the site of an older mosque that had been destroyed during the communist era. The construction of the new mosque was financed by a Saudi sheikh. The eye is drawn not only to the bright facade but also to two soaring minarets measuring over 40 meters, 8 side domes, extensive glass facades, and a main dome that gleams in the sun, spanning 24 meters. Inside, the Great Mosque is very subdued in terms of its decorations. They are subtle. The interior exudes peace, brightness, and concentration. It can accommodate up to 1,300 worshippers. Things are probably not so peaceful then. Near the Great Mosque, there's a Catholic church. This is a Franciscan church built with the Sultan's permission in the early 20th century. Built in the neo-Romanesque style, the church has a basilica layout and a tall, slender bell tower. After World War II, the Albanian secret police hid a chest of weapons in the church to accuse the Franciscans of plotting an attack. The provocation proved successful, resulting in the death of some priests. In the 1960s, the church was converted into a cinema. Recall that during Albanian communism, all religion was banned. The building was returned to Catholics after the fall of the totalitarian system. Inside, you can see paintings depicting the persecution of Catholic priests. Now churches can function equally in Albania, displaying a religious mosaic. Nearby, there is also a large Orthodox church, the Church of the Nativity of Our Lord. It is an interesting-looking building with a tall, separate bell tower. It was built in 2000 on the ruins of an earlier wooden church. This was also destroyed during the communist era. South of the city lies Shkodër's greatest attraction. To see it, we'll drive. We park in front of the entrance. You can walk the entire route, but we recommend driving. This is especially true as the visit involves a lot of walking in full sun, with almost no shade. Rozafa Castle lies ahead. The first fortress on this site was built by the Illyrians 4,000 years ago. It was slightly fortified by the Romans in the 2nd century BC. It was thoroughly rebuilt by the Venetians, who ruled Shkodër at the turn of the 14th and 10th centuries. Most of the preserved walls date from this period. Within them, there are also remains of younger buildings from the 10th and 11th centuries, built by the Ottomans. The fortress consists of 3 courtyards on different levels. The most important structure here is the ruins of the Church of Saint Stephen, built in 1319. About 150 years later, it was converted into a mosque. The base of the minaret has been preserved. In the upper part of the fortress, we find, among other things, remnants of Venetian structures from the 10th century, remnants of a Turkish hammam from the 10th and 11th centuries, and traces of the residence of the Busati family, who ruled Shkodër in the 19th century. It houses a small castle museum and a restaurant. A lead mosque is also located at the foot of the castle hill. Its name comes from the covering of its domes. Unfortunately, it was being renovated during our visit. A macabre legend also accompanies Rozafa Castle. 3 brothers were supposed to have built it, but construction was not going well. From a mysterious old man, the brothers learned that the castle would be built only by walling up one of their wives alive. The victim was to be the woman who first brought food to her husband the next day. The eldest brothers, cunningly, warned their wives, so the youngest's wife was the victim. As it turns out, honesty doesn't pay. The girl reportedly accepted the verdict calmly, requesting only that her right eye, right breast, arm, and leg be left uncovered. She was to rock her son's cradle with her leg, stroke his head with her hand, breastfeed him, and mourn with her eye. The castle was built. The son grew into a hero, and the lower reaches of the fortress are always damp with the girl's tears. Hence, the castle is named after Rozafa. Water is abundant here. The castle hill offers a breathtaking view of the confluence of 3 Albanian rivers. We gaze far into the landscape, where nature and history intertwine into a harmonious whole. To the west, the swift and Kir River and the majestic Drin, Albania's longest river, join. This is precisely one of its 2 branches. On the western side of the hill, we observe the already familiar Bune River flowing majestically from Lake Skadar. All 3 rivers merge south of the castle hill, flowing as one, the Buna River. The history of the castle, which changed hands repeatedly, also illustrates the fate of the city of Shkodër. Its origins date back to the 4th century BC, when it was the capital of the Illyrian kingdom. In the 1st century BC, the city was conquered by the Romans. After the fall of the Roman Empire, the city came under Byzantine control and then changed hands for centuries. It was ruled by Serbs, Venetians, and Ottomans. Montenegro also sought to include Shkodër within its borders. Only in 1920, after the end of the occupation and the withdrawal of foreign forces, did Shkodër fully fall under the control of the newly established Albanian state. After this immense dose of history, it's time for a culinary delight. Shkodër is an excellent place to sample Albanian flavors. We're inland, not on the coast, so fish and seafood are less popular here. Unless, of course, it's carp, which is often served in a casserole in Shkodër. However, meats, including baked ones, dominate the menu. We order a platter of Albanian flavors. We share a plate of amam baldi. It's a whole eggplant baked with a filling of tomatoes, onions, and garlic. It's a kind of cake or flia typical of northern Albania. It consists of many layers resembling pancakes, spread with cream and butter. It's gjeprak, rice with herbs and vine leaves. It's reminiscent of Polish cabbage rolls. A staple in any Balkan country is stuffed peppers. Baked vegetables and baked potatoes are also served. In the center, a bowl of ferdiz. It's a vegetable spread with a cheese-like consistency, topped with tomatoes, peppers, and garlic. This is the Albanian dish tave kosi. Ta is actually the name of a clay pot, but it also tells us about the preparation method. Tawasi is a baked lamb dish, baked in a sauce of sour milk, eggs, flour, and butter. Seasoned with salt, pepper, garlic, and oregano. What are we going to eat now? Have you heard? It's written. Taju. Beef baked in tomato sauce with white cheese and paprika. As always, every dish in Albania is served with delicious bread. You'll discover other Albanian delicacies in the remaining sections of our journey through Albania. Meanwhile, we're leaving Skatra. We're heading out of town, all to admire the northern Albanian mountains. We don't plan on hiking. We intend to go as far and as high as possible, to at least touch the majesty of what dominates this region. Leaving the city, we slowly move onto roads with less traffic, although that doesn't mean it's any easier. The roads are becoming increasingly difficult to navigate. They wind through mountain valleys. Picturesque views are one thing, but for drivers, this means increased vigilance. Animals may appear on the road, claiming this terrain as their own. It's safe to say that now they can become a hindrance, replacing the unpredictable Albanian drivers who previously dominated the roads. The roads climb winding serpentines and make your heart beat faster. However, the terrain is captivating. Both picturesque valleys and rugged mountain peaks. The North Albanian mountains are also known as the Albanian Alps or the Accursed Mountains. They are the highest part of the Dinaric Alps, a range that stretches across Albania, Montenegro, and Kosovo. The highest peak here is 2,694 meters, 8,694 feet. Where does the term Cursed Mountains come from? During the Ottoman Empire's attacks, a mother allegedly took her children and fled to the mountains. In her haste, she forgot about water, and the area was experiencing a drought. In her moment of greatest despair, her mother cursed the mountains with the words, "I hope you never have water. Burn yourselves." Quote. From then on, the peaks were said to have become dry and deprived of life-giving sources. Even now, shepherds can be found here, pouring water on their journeys to alleviate the curse. Another translation of the term Cursed Mountains refers to the inaccessibility of these peaks. The geographical conditions here are difficult. The mountains are truly wild and rugged. We can still see them from places accessible to everyone, those who decide to embark on true mountain hikes. The mountains enchant with their natural beauty, offering countless picturesque trails and quaint villages almost cut off from the world. We return with beautiful views in our memories, but also a certain dissatisfaction. We could hike here some more. In the meantime, we must be wary of what reigns and governs here. Nature. dusk has already fallen in the city of Shkodër. It seems that in the evening and at night, the city comes alive. It's also undeniable that this is when it begins to look its most attractive. This is the familiar Democracy Square. The Midziani Theatre looms over the square. Above them stands the legendary Rozafa Hotel. The Grand Mosque, resplendent as it is during the day, is visible from afar and from many points in the city. It makes an impressive impression from every angle, especially from above, although there are so few opportunities to see it from this perspective. As we've already mentioned, all of Shkodër's social and entertainment life centers around the main street, essentially the main pedestrian street, Rruga Kolë Idromeno. A quiet town during the day, it comes alive in the evenings and at night. Crowds of both locals and tourists flock here to sit down to dinner, as is customary in Albania, and also to enjoy the entertainment in the numerous bars and clubs. If you're looking for peace and quiet in Shkodër, this isn't the place for you. But if you want to immerse yourself in the Albanian nightlife, you've come to the right place. The sounds from several streets carry throughout the city. The nightlife seems endless. A heartbreaking feeling is just a heartbreaking feeling, making you wonder where all those people were just a few hours earlier, during a sleepy morning. We had spent 2 very intense days in Shkodër and the surrounding area. We showed you the attractions of this place and the region. For those who dedicate more time here, there's even more to discover. Shkodër seems like a perfect place for a short trip, whether from nearby Montenegro or the south of the country. At first, it might seem like an ordinary and interesting place, but it's worth discovering its attractions, especially the Castle Hill, and getting to know the life of northern Albania. We're waving to you from Rozafa Castle. Thank you for watching another episode. Likes and subscriptions are welcome. And we're already heading to the next destination on our journey through southern Albania. In the next episode, it will be the coastal town of Durrës. Check out the other episodes of our Albanian journey. See you there. Durrës is one of the oldest cities in Albania. Founded in 627 BC as the Greek city of Epidamnos, it was adopted by the Romans around 220 BC, changing its name to Dyrrhachium. The city became an important trading center and a base for the Roman legions. Following the division of the Roman Empire, Durrës came under the control of the Byzantines, Normans, and Serbs until 1272, when it was declared the capital of the Principality of Albania. At the turn of the 14th and 10th centuries, it was a possession of the Venetian Republic, and then under the rule of the Ottoman Empire. After Albania regained independence in 1912, Durrës became the country's capital. In 1920, it lost this status to Tirana. Today, Durrës can be divided into 2 parts: the hotel, beach, and summer recreational zone, and the central urban zone with the main buildings, monuments, and the port. Strolling along Epidam Boulevard, adorned with beautiful palm trees, we reach Freedom Square. This central location offers easy access to all the city's major attractions on foot. As you can see, the LC has recently been renovated. On such a hot, sunny summer day, even the spreading palm trees provide little shade, and the fountains only provide a slight cooling effect. Perhaps that's why it's so quiet at midday, but it's a popular meeting place and venue for city events. The square is dominated by the town hall, built in the early 20th century by Italians. Its red and white neoclassical facade is adorned with bas-reliefs, and a tower with a city clock stands on one side. Across Freedom Square, opposite the town hall, is the Municipal Theatre, named after Alexander Mojub. The Durrës Theatre began operating in 1953, taking its name from an Austrian actor of Albanian descent. The tradition of amateur theatre dates back to the late 19th century, when the city's first theatre group began operating. This activity became professional in 1953. Initially, the actors performed in the local cinema, and in 1965, a building at Freedom Square was opened, which remains the theater's headquarters to this day. However, it can definitely be said that the square is dominated by the Great Mosque. Built in 1931 on the site of an older Ottoman-era mosque, it was the largest in Albania when it opened. During the communist era, it was closed in Albania. All religions were banned by the regime. In 1967, during the dictatorship of Enver Hoxha, the mosque was transformed into a youth palace, and the minaret was demolished. The building was partially destroyed by the 1979 earthquake. The mosque was reopened to the faithful in 1993. The shimmering ribbon, a metaphor for the river with its source near the theater building, unites everything around Freedom Square. Returning along Epidam Boulevard, we reach Mujo Ulcinaku Square. This figure was one of the few soldiers of the Albanian army to take up arms against the Italian invasion in April 1939. Before his death, he and a handful of comrades defended the port for several hours. A monument commemorates this heroic stand. In this part of the city, we encounter the remains of defensive walls built at the turn of the 5th and 6th centuries. One of Durrës' most distinctive and historic landmarks is also located here, the Venetian Tower. As its name suggests, it dates back to the time when Durrës was under Venetian rule. It likely dates back to the 10th century. Its strategic location on the seashore provided a significant defensive position. The Venetian Tower was part of the city's larger fortifications, designed to defend against invasions and raids. It was built using stones from the ruins of Roman buildings that previously stood in Durrës. Durrës Orthodox Church also had to be rebuilt. This is the Cathedral of St. Paul and St. Astius. It was completed in 2002. Previously, the Church of St. Spiridon stood here, but it was destroyed in 1967. During the communist era of Enver Hoxha, where did the idea for the temple's current patron saints come from? The Apostle Paul was considered the first preacher of the Christian religion in the ancient land and lyric poetry that also encompassed the territory of present-day Albania. Saint Astius is the first Christian martyr to die for the faith in this region, during the reign of Emperor Trajan. From the very beginning of the settlement, the port played a crucial role in the city's development. It already operated in the ancient city founded by the Greeks. Its strategic location on the Adriatic Sea quickly made it an important trade hub. Under Roman rule, it was a key point on the Via Egnatia route connecting the Adriatic with Byzantium. During the Middle Ages, the port of Durrës came under the control of Byzantines, Normans, Venetians, and Ottomans. With each successive phase, the port grew in importance. After Albania gained independence, it became a key element of the country's economy. It was also expanded by the communist regime of Enver Hoxha. And so it remains to this day, when the port of Durrës is Albania's largest port. It is also a major tourist hub, handling over 1.5 million passengers annually. Interestingly, in the 1990s, the local shipyard was purchased by the Gdańsk Ship Repair Yard, becoming the majority shareholder. A Polish shop even operated there at the time. The shipyard's cooperation lasted until 2003. It is possible that in the future, shipbuilding and commercial operations will be moved slightly north, leaving this area exclusively for tourism. We are now heading to the largest monument in Durrës. While such sites are usually visible from afar, beautifully exposed, here a true gem is hidden among residential buildings. It is a Roman amphitheater. It dates from the early 2nd century. It is the largest known preserved amphitheater in Albania and the entire western part of the Balkan Peninsula. Its construction was begun in the early 2nd century by Emperor Trajan and completed by his successor Hadrian. The enormous oval structure, somewhat resembling a volcanic crater, measures 136 by 113 meters. The stands are 20 meters high. It could accommodate up to 20,000 people. Gladiator fights were held here until around 400 AD. When they were banned, the local Christian community took over the amphitheater. In the 5th century, a cemetery was established in the arena, and a chapel beneath the stands. Over the following centuries, the site fell into disrepair, also due to earthquakes. Gradually, the amphitheater was almost completely buried under sediment. It was rediscovered in 1966, accidentally, during the digging of a well for one of the houses built on the former amphitheater. The discovery of the amphitheater resulted in the displacement of some of the unfortunate residents living above it, and over 30 houses were demolished to facilitate excavations. Currently, only part of this complex is exposed. The rest is still underground, essentially beneath the houses. In the exposed areas, you can see well-preserved stands and a grassy arena. You can also walk through part of the gladiator quarters. The early Christian main chapel is well preserved. It was initially decorated with friezes, which were later replaced with mosaics. The chapel's construction dates back to the 5th or 6th century, but scholars disagree, and research is still ongoing. The amphitheater is open to visitors, and residents in the houses surrounding it enjoy exceptional views. They are also aware that ancient ruins still lie beneath their homes. If someone ever wants to further uncover them, their homes will have to give way to the Roman structure. The real draw that draws most tourists to Durrës is the beaches. These are some of the longest beaches in all of Albania. The seaside stretches for several kilometers. The number of tourists is enormous. Navigating the roads in the hotel zone is a nightmare. Traffic jams stretch from morning until late at night. Finding a parking space is next to impossible. If you're choosing a hotel here and have your own car, check carefully if it has parking. It's best to get around on foot or by bus. The situation is no different on the other side of the buildings that tightly enclose the coastal strip. The beaches in Durrës are very crowded, attracting tourists to come here according to travel agencies. The crystal clear water and beautiful golden sand aren't exactly what they seem. In fact, the water is rather muddy, and the sand is gray. On the plus side, the extensive hotel infrastructure, calm sea, and gentle slope into the water are noteworthy. Public beach sections are few. Most are zoned for specific hotels or require a sunbed and umbrella to enjoy the sun. For those who want a more active seaside experience, a walking path and a terrace for cyclists and rollerbladers have been created along the entire coast. The number of bars, restaurants, and cafes here is endless. The view of the almost endless beaches is certainly impressive. But everyone emphasizes that in Albania, you can find places with much nicer beaches. We'll show you those in the next parts of our trip. After dark, life also revolves around the seaside. Evenings and nights are also crowded, attracting restaurants, clubs, and amusement parks. Attractions for both young and old. In the evening, we also head to a seaside restaurant to sample the delicacies offered by the city of Durrës. Since we're by the sea, fish and seafood reign supreme in this part of Albania. So we sample what the sea has to offer, grilled seafood of all kinds. Here, the star of this risotto is mussels. And finally, fish fillet in blue cheese and truffle sauce. We've gone a bit overboard here, but everything is delicious and fresh. You'll discover other Albanian delicacies in the remaining parts of our Albanian trip. For us, it's time to sum things up. If you're staying in Durrës, it could be a seaside vacation for a few days, taking advantage of the numerous hotels and long beaches, but also with a large number of tourists. It could also be a day or two spent exploring the city, both its maritime charms and the interesting places and monuments within the urban area. The day after all the excitement in Durrës, we're heading towards another Albanian city. We'll stay on the coast. This time, we'll check out how time flies in another popular tourist town, Vlorë. Check out the rest of our Albanian journey now. If you enjoyed it, we'd love to hear from you. Likes and subscriptions are welcome, and we'll see you soon. In this episode, we'll soon discover the charms of the coastal city of Vlorë. We'll visit one of the most beautiful beaches in Albania. We'll feel the atmosphere of a medieval fortress. The colors of the Albanian salt pans will enchant us. We'll show you a place where you can spot flamingos and the ancient city that raised the first Roman emperor. We invite you on a journey to places that have been hidden from the world for years. From wild mountain peaks to picturesque valleys, stone-paved streets of small towns, and turquoise seawaters.
Welcome to Albania, or Mire Sevini Nipëri. Is Albania a mountainous or coastal country, traditional or modern, eastern or western? Or perhaps all three? It's a land of many contrasts. Discover it with us on our 2-week journey through Albania. A.
Land of great heroes, fearless leaders, and powerful people. Ancient secrets that permeate modern life. Authentic places where every moment carries history. Harmony of cultures, religions, and respect for diversity. Albania awaits those who desire to discover its multicolored mosaic. Let's begin. Albania, Part 4. Vlorë and the surrounding area. We continue our journey through Albania, exploring the country's most interesting sites. In the previous episode, we showed you the city of Durrës. We're staying on the coast. Currently, we're in another famous seaside resort, Vlorë. Vlorë is one of the largest Albanian cities, with a population of approximately 130,000. It's a port city and the former capital of Albania. Vlorë can be divided into two parts: the Old Town with its monuments and important sites, and the coastal part associated with tourism and the port. We begin our exploration of Vlorë from this zone. The city strives to emulate the great Mediterranean resorts. In this section, we travel along wide roads surrounded by magnificent palm trees. Tourists can stroll along the wide promenade along the sea. There is also a small beach, but it's not the best place for this type of entertainment. Beachgoers should probably head outside this urban area. The beaches there are much nicer. We'll get to them later. In the morning, there are few locals or tourists here. Those who do show up head towards the marina, from where you can take numerous cruises along the coast or to the nearby island of Sazan, the Caribbean Peninsula, or to Italy. The port of Vlorë is, right next to Durrës, the most important port in the country. In the 1990s, after the fall of communism in Albania, the port witnessed a mass exodus of Albanians to Italy. Among the historical sites, you can visit the National Museum of Independence here. The Albanian Declaration of Independence was signed in the museum building in 1912. To explore Vlorë in more detail, head about 3 kilometers north. This is where the Old Town is located. In the renovated narrow streets, among the colorful, low-rise buildings, you can feel the atmosphere of Albania. Vlorë has a centuries-old tradition. The city was founded in the 6th century BC as the Greek colony of Apollonia. It was an important port during the Roman and Byzantine eras. Vlorë was ruled by the Normans and Ottoman Turks, and in 1912, Albania's Declaration of Independence was announced here. Flag Square commemorates important historical events. A magnificent independence monument stands there. The 17th sculpture depicts delegates fighting for independence. There is also a monument to Ismail Kamali, Albania's leading independence activist and first prime minister. Near the Independence Monument, you can see the remains of the ancient walls of Apollonia. Within the beautifully restored Old Town, you can also visit the Historical Museum. A visit to the Ethnographic Museum will help you discover the history of the local culture. Always check the opening hours of such places in advance. Albanians take a siesta in the middle of the day, so the cities empty out between 12 o'clock and 1600, and many places are closed, making sightseeing difficult. In many parts of Albania, you'll notice various stuffed animals, dolls, and teddy bears hanging from houses. Albanians are very superstitious. These toys are meant to protect against the evil eye, which translates to jealousy, envy, or generally negative energy. The most valuable monument in the old town of Vlorë is the small but significant Muradie Mosque. Dating back to the 15th century, it was designed by the court architect of the Turkish sultans. The architecture is typical of the early period of Islamization in Albanian lands. Importantly, the mosque survived the communist era and the eradication of religion from national life, as it was declared national heritage and turned into a museum. Today, it still functions as a place of prayer. Once you've explored the most important monuments in Vlorë, the history of the city, and Albania as a whole, it's worth relaxing on the numerous beaches. As mentioned, the most beautiful ones aren't located near the city itself. In the south, the coastal strip is narrower, rockier, and also varied. In the north, wider, sandy beaches are available. The Vlorë coastline boasts approximately 19 kilometers of beaches, and it's here that the border between the Ionian and Adriatic Seas runs. Evening comes, and it's time to settle in for a meal in Albania. We choose the traditional restaurant Wani, which we highly recommend. During the season, it's packed with hungry tourists. For an appetizer, we order stuffed peppers, served thickly sliced. Since we're by the sea, seafood is a must. It's the shrimp saganaki, large shrimp served in a tomato and cheese sauce. This dish has Greek origins. Finally, there's fried seafood, fish, and shellfish. We get the impression that practically everything we've caught is here. It's incredibly filling. In the evening, the numerous restaurants and bars fill to capacity. As dusk falls, all the flaws of Albanian cities become less apparent. Perhaps there's less traffic on the streets, and more people are also crowding the sidewalks and promenades. Smaller yachts and larger ships moor under the moonlight in Vlorë Bay. The seaside boulevard, empty during the day, is now filled with everyone eager for a good time. Now we understand why it's so large. The singing and dancing draw both Albanians and tourists into the fun. What better way to express the Albanian spirit? Always eager to sing and have fun, proud of its history and culture. We were eager to join in the fun, but that would require learning that special dance and steps. However, the Albanian party is truly captivating, and although perhaps a bit off the beaten track, we were still drawn into the whirlwind of Balkan rhythms. It may be difficult for the spectators watching from their seats to understand this, but being here, everyone can be drawn into the fun. Albanians enjoy life, and it's contagious. Maybe that's enough. You need to be strong enough for another day of your trip. It's time to head out of Vlorë. Many people say the surrounding area is even more interesting than the resort itself. We reach the Gjipe Canyon, which ends with a unique attraction. From the main trail, you take a road to the parking lot, and then a 2-kilometer hike awaits, as only decent off-road vehicles will be able to pass. But the hike ends with such pleasure. This is one of Albania's most beautiful beaches, Gjipe. An incredibly charming beach with sand and rocks. In the off-season, there's almost no one here. But in the high season, as you can see, civilization has arrived. There are sunbeds for rent, and even small bars, or rather, huts. Many people also choose to camp here. Camping is available. The beach can also be viewed from the sea by taking a boat trip to this spot. Visiting Gjipe Beach is a full-day excursion. We head further south along the coast, known locally as the Albanian Riviera, until we reach the Bay of Porto Palermo. An impressive castle stands here. The fortress of Porto Palermo was built on a peninsula connected to the mainland by a short causeway. It is believed that the castle was built in the 10th century by Ali Pasha, an Ottoman magnate. Legend has it that it was a gift for his beloved wife. If necessary, it also served as a base for escape to the west. However, some historians argue that it was built earlier by the Venetians, although fortifications may have existed here even earlier. Ali Pasha merely expanded it. Albania's Adriatic and Ionian coasts are home to numerous castles. They exemplify the struggle between Eastern and Western influences typical of Albanian history. They are relics of the Byzantine, Venetian, and Ottoman empires. The fortress is triangular in shape, with sides measuring 60 meters. The lower level is almost entirely covered with a ceiling. Only the southwest fort has an open terrace, which we would now call an open terrace. It offers beautiful views of the sea, bay, and small local beach. Inside, you can feel the atmosphere of a former fortress. The prevailing twilight adds a touch of mystery. We stroll here in near silence. The austerity of the centuries-old stronghold has been preserved inside. In recent history, the fortress in Porto Palermo was the internment point for those who had offended the communist regime of Enver Hoxha. So much history, and tourists here pay particular attention to the unique views. Especially keen observers can spot interesting circles here. This is the aquaculture industry operating here. A fish farm was established in 2004. It is used for breeding. The Bay of Porto Palermo is perfectly suited for this type of activity. It is deep and naturally protected from strong currents. The activity is ambiguous. What is good for the fish farm may not be entirely beneficial for the fish and fishermen outside the designated area. But that's a story for another time. Due to its strategic location, Porto Palermo Bay has been used for defensive purposes from ancient times through World War II to the present day. This location is unique on the map of Albania. It is the Porto Palermo Tunnel. It was built during the communist era in Albania under the dictator Enver Hoxha. It is considered a submarine bunker, although its main function was to serve as a home base for fast attack craft. The water tunnel was carved across a mountain. It is 650 meters long. One entrance opens to the open sea, the other is located in the bay. The tunnel was built between 1969 and 1988. After the fall of communism, it gradually deteriorated. For 32 years, it remained closed behind a steel and concrete gate. It was officially opened a month before our arrival. There are plans to make this site an official tourist attraction. Official, because it has already been entered illegally on numerous occasions. We are now heading north of Vlorë. The local Adriatic seawaters have created the shallow, expansive Narts Lagoon. It covers over 40 square kilometers. We're heading towards Wernet Island, located in this lagoon. Our destination is a Byzantine monastery. The island is connected to the mainland by a long, winding bridge. There used to be a simple, straight bridge here, but this design seems much more appropriate. The walk itself is a pleasure. We reach the island. The Byzantine monastery of St. Mary was built here in the 10th century. In the center is an Orthodox church, also known as the Church of the Dormition of the Blessed Virgin Mary. The monastery is one of the most important Orthodox centers in Albania. In the past, the monastery was considered a place of healing. Entire families with patients suffering from tuberculosis or mental illnesses would come here. A separate building was even constructed to accommodate the sick. This place served its religious functions until 1960, when Albania's communist authorities banned religion in the country and turned it into a prison for political oppositionists. After the fall of the regime, the monastery's religious functions were restored, while also welcoming tourists. Narts Lagoon is also an important site for natural biodiversity of international significance. The site has been included in the Vjosa Narts Protected Landscape Area. Besides other birds, Narts Lagoon is also home to approximately 3,000 flamingos. They are difficult to spot, as they avoid tourist-crowded areas, but if you wait a while, you might be lucky. The unique terrain, geographic and natural conditions, and the existence of the lagoon allowed for the creation of salt pans in this area. A gift of sun and sea. Unfortunately, the area is not intended for tourist visits. We leave aside all the physical processes of salt extraction, because the sight of the salt pans is truly poetic. The palette of colors creates a magical image. The shimmering surface of the water is almost still, as if afraid to shatter its perfect image. Each grain of snow-white salt seems to contain a piece of the Albanian sun and the wind of beautiful nature. We head further north to explore one of Albania's greatest monuments, a place called the Pompeii of Albania. Greek settlers in the 6th century BC built a city here in honor of Apollo, the Greek god of beauty, music, and poetry, named Apollonia. Its location on the Via, the river port, and its connection to the sea created an important trade center. Development even allowed for the minting of its own coins. After the Roman occupation in 22 BC, Apollonia's importance increased even further. A school of fine arts, renowned throughout the ancient world, was established here. It housed one of the largest libraries in the Roman world. Apollonia lies on a section of the Via Egnatia, the 1,100-kilometer-long Roman road connecting Bordeaux on the Adriatic with Byzantium. Today's Istanbul. Little remains of the city, which once had a population of over 40,000, and only 8% has been discovered. One of the best preserved monuments is the Odeon, an amphitheater dating back to the 2nd century BC. It was excavated in 1978. The most noteworthy are the ruins of the Bouleuterion, where the city council was located. The front wall with a colonnade, part of the tympanum, and stairs were reconstructed using surviving fragments. Here stood the Stoa, a columned hall with a roof supported by 23 columns. The hall was 75 meters long and used for social and scholarly gatherings. Julius Caesar sent his adopted son Octavian to Apollonia for his education. Thus, the first Roman emperor, Augustus, was raised here. He later exempted Apollonia from taxes in gratitude for its education. The city flourished until the 2nd century. Then an earthquake struck, changing the banks of the Visos River. From then on, Apollonia began to decline. Without access to the sea, it lost its commercial importance. Malaria swept through the region, devastating the city. The tour begins with a complex that isn't an ancient monument. The buildings date back to the Byzantine period. The monastery of St. Mary was built in the 10th century, using materials from ancient buildings. In the center stands a stone and brick church built in a cruciform shape. Surrounding the church are stone monastery buildings. The cloisters lead us to the Archaeological Museum. Here, you can see some of the excavated sculptures and objects. We sit on the stone benches of the ancient amphitheater. It's good to take a moment to stop and reflect on this unique place. In this episode, we showed you not only the ancient city of Apollonia, but also the modern city of Vlorë. We showed you just how interesting the entire region is. It's time to leave this audience and head towards new adventures. In the next episode of our Albanian journey, we'll show you the historic city of Berat. Be sure to check out the other installments in our Albanian journey series. We'd love it if you decided to subscribe to our channel and leave a thumbs up or a comment. Until then, see you soon. The Osum River flows between the hills. First, a settlement was established here, forming a citadel on one of the mountains. Gradually, the city expanded, building up the mountainside. A settlement was also created on the other side of the river, also on the mountain slope. Thus, the most characteristic view of Berat was formed. A wall of terraced, white, traditional residential buildings with large windows and sloping roofs. It is precisely because of this architecture that Berat is called the City of 1,000 Windows, or as Albanians prefer to call it, the City of Windows over Windows. This is the Mangalam district, stretching on the hillside below the castle. The buildings were constructed between the 14th and 15th centuries. In the past, the Mangalam district was an Ottoman, or Muslim, settlement. On the other side of the river rises the Gorica district. In the past, it was inhabited by Christians. Partly due to its unique architecture, Berat was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List. Both districts are separated by the Osum River. Above it rises one of the symbols of the city, the Gorica Bridge. A wooden bridge once stood here. During the Turkish rule in the 18th century, a stone crossing was built. The 130-meter bridge was reconstructed in the 1920s. What makes it so significant is its connection of the two historical religious communities in this region, between Muslims and Christians. The bridge here is both a literal and figurative way of uniting two worlds. To make crossing easier, a modern suspension bridge was also built here. This is also one of the landmarks of this city. Its modern form might not fit perfectly with the historic architecture, but we will leave those musings aside. From this bridge, you can best admire both neighborhoods, Gorica and Mangalam. Both places are tourist attractions, but they are also still home to Albanians and tourists alike. So, we chose a hotel here as well. It is the charming Ansel Guest House. Located in the Mangalam district, the hotel is a true pleasure for experiencing the history of Berat. At the same time, you become part of the view, while admiring another from the windows. Apart from the famous postcard-worthy hillside districts, Berat is a city of nearly 60,000 that also expands around the hills. In the more typical urban part, there are also places worth visiting. Every tourist arriving here will surely come across Republic Boulevard, the modern hub of the city's tourist life. Around it, we can find historic buildings, as well as countless restaurants and bars. Before noon, it is still a quiet, uncrowded place, but we will show you later what the atmosphere is like here when evening and night fall. It is also worth adding that this urban part of Berat is literally scorched by the sun in summer. Berat is one of the hottest Albanian cities. It is excellent that a park was created along Republic Boulevard to provide some coolness. Looking inside, you can see where the locals and tourists have hidden during the sunny day. Roddick, what are you carrying in your hand? Byrek or pastries, but here. I can show it. We decide on the famous snack known to everyone visiting the Balkans. In Albania, it is byrek, in other regions, berek. A stuffed pastry made of phyllo dough or yufka, filled with cottage cheese, spinach, or ground meat. In the central urban part of Berat, you do not need any means of transport. Everything is best visited on foot. We are visiting the historic King's Mosque here. It is one of the oldest in Albania. It was built in the 15th century. It formed the central part of the entire temple complex. It was completely rebuilt in the first half of the 19th century. The mosque survived the communist period in the 1960s. Of the 20th century, when dictator Enver Hoxha declared Albania an atheistic state. Today, the King's Mosque preserves its historic frescoes and some interior decor elements. In the center of the ceiling, there are rosettes with inscriptions of Quranic verses, and the frieze below the ceiling contains the 99 names of God. Visiting the mosque is free, but it is recommended to leave a donation. This is a common form of an informal fee for visiting mosques in Albania. The entire complex at the King's Mosque also includes a Bektashi monastery dating back to the 15th century. Bektashis are a branch of Islam, a religious brotherhood, an order combining many religious traditions. In the world of Islam, however, Bektashis are considered heretics. Previously, the center of Bektashism was Turkey, and later Tirana in Albania. It is currently one of the 4 most popular religions in the country. Bektashism is famous for its openness and integration with elements of culture and tradition. Remember that this is within a Muslim complex, yet we also encounter the Jewish Star of David on its walls. That is precisely the religious mosaic of Albania. To complete the picture of religious diversity, coexistence, and tolerance of many faiths in Albania, we visit the St. Demetrius Cathedral, the Orthodox Cathedral in Berat. The church stands proudly above one of the city's main squares. Although it is not a historic monument, the first plans to build an Orthodox cathedral in Berat were created in the early 90s of the 20th century. Ultimately, the cathedral was built between 2002 and 2014. Nearby, overlooking the same square in Berat, stands the Lead Mosque, built in the 15th century. It is also one of the oldest mosques in the country. It is characterized by a large dome covered with lead sheeting. That is where the temple got its name. Just above the Osum River, by the new suspension bridge, stands another Muslim temple. It is the Bachelor's Mosque. It dates back to the 19th century and, as the name implies, it served for prayers and meetings for unmarried young men. The city of Berat is a perfect place to try traditional Albanian cuisine. You encounter fish and seafood here less often, which reign supreme on the coast. We choose the highly recommended Antigone restaurant. For an appetizer, we get the already familiar börek, phyllo pastry filled with various stuffings. Another popular appetizer or Balkan dish is stuffed peppers. They can be filled with just rice or with meat. This is kofte, served with roasted potatoes. Kofte are cutlets or meatballs made of minced meat with onions, here made of beef. Something like our meat patties. This delicacy is fergiz with veal. Fergiz is a vegetable paste with cheese, added tomatoes, peppers, and garlic. It can be a separate dish or combined and baked with meat. Here, with veal. For drinks, we order beer, Albanian, of course. Some of the most popular are Tirana or Korka. From stronger Albanian spirits, you can try the famous Raki, also called Albanian moonshine. The most popular is grape Raki. There are also plum, pear, or quince versions. Connoisseurs appreciate Albanian brandy, here under the name brandy, due to the trademark name cognac. And for digesting heavy Albanian dishes, you can choose the bitter herbal liqueur, fernet. You can learn more about Albanian culinary specialties in the other episodes of our journey through Albania. After dinner, evening has fallen in Berat. When visiting this city, it is worth planning an overnight stay to feel the unique atmosphere after dark. To see how the city becomes even more beautiful. The most prominent element of the evening landscape here, because it is modernly lit, is the new suspension bridge. Tourists use it to move between the two famous districts. It often gets crowded here for a moment as someone stops to admire the views. This is Gorica by night, and the district on the other side of the Osum River, the Mangalam district. This is a place we already visited during the day, the King's Mosque. Next to the King's Mosque, located within the same complex, is the Bektashi Monastery. Beautifully illuminated are the other mosques, the Bachelor's Mosque and the Lead Mosque. And this is the Orthodox Cathedral of St. Demetrius. Most enthusiasts of evening and nightlife gather on the Republic Boulevard. The place, calm by day, now fills with the bustle of those eager to enjoy its many restaurants, bars, and clubs. Republic Boulevard is teeming with life. Set against the grand backdrop of the Mangalam district's windows. A bit further from this tourist hub stands the historic Gorica Bridge we already know. Perhaps it's a good thing it's tucked away from Berat's nightlife, as you can enjoy a peaceful walk across it at night. Late at night, when the evening hum dies down, tourists hide in their hotels and residents in their homes. How nice it is to finally listen to the river from the window, to the chirping of crickets, to look straight into the thousands of windows. The rustling wind seems to whisper centuries-old stories. Can you believe our dreams have become real life? Standing away from the night, standing the test of time. Can you believe our dreams have become real? On this warm summer night, it is no less beautiful at the Hotel Ansel in Berat in the morning. Albanian breakfast delicacies appear on the table, with such beautiful views all around. It's hard to decide what to focus on. But time is pressing for the adventure-seeking tourist. We are heading out to explore the attraction of Berat that towers over the city. The fortress is visible from every point in Berat, but getting there is not quite so simple. The road may not be long, but it is quite winding, steep, and very exhausting during the summer heat in Berat. We might come across as rather lazy tourists, but we really recommend driving up to the castle by bus or in your own car. There is a lot of walking waiting for you at the top, so it is worth saving some energy. The first traces of settlement in this area date back to the century before our era. The fortress in Berat was built over many centuries. It was rebuilt and changed its appearance. The castle is surrounded by walls with 24 towers. Normal life goes on inside the citadel. Among the historic fortifications and temples stand traditional old residential houses. There are shops and restaurants here. The hill is less than 200 meters high. The history of the fortress is directly linked to the history of all of Berat. Traces of settlement date back to 2000 BC. From the 1st century BC, the Illyrians lived here. In the 2nd century BC, the city was conquered by the Romans. In the 5th century, the Byzantines ruled here. From the 9th, the Bulgarians. Then it was Byzantium again. In 1417, Berat was conquered by the Ottoman Turks. In the 19th century, the city was taken back from Turkish hands, and it became an important center for the Albanian national movement. In the 20th century, during communist times, Berat became a place of exile for political prisoners and their families. The castle we see today dates mainly from the 10th century. Within the fortress, there are both Byzantine churches and Ottoman mosques. After passing through the outer gate, visitors make their way through traditional Ottoman houses. The entire complex covers over 9 hectares. It is worth having a map with you, unless you want to get romantically lost inside this citadel. If you do find your way, you absolutely must visit the Onufri Icon Museum. It's a paradise for anyone interested in Byzantine art and icons. It is located inside the Church of the Dormition of the Theotokos. It is the largest church within the castle grounds. You can find artworks here dating from the 10th to the 20th century. The museum's main attraction is a 19th century iconostasis. Unfortunately, filming is not allowed inside. Within the Berat fortress, there are two mosques, or rather, ruins. This is the Red Mosque, built in the early 10th century after the conquest of the Berat fortress by the Ottoman Turks. It served the local garrison and merchants stopping at the fortress. Nowadays, only the outline of its foundations and a large fragment of the minaret remain. Nearby, we find the White Mosque, from which the outline of the walls and the foundations of the minaret have been preserved. It's also worth finding and going inside, or rather, climbing down into, a 14th century stone cistern. It was, of course, used for storing water for the fortress. There were once 20 churches within the citadel. Many of them were destroyed during the communist regime. It is worth visiting the Church of St. Mary of Blachernay here. It was rebuilt in the 15th century, but it originally dates back to the 10th century and is the oldest church in Berat. Unfortunately, filming is not allowed inside. One of the most famous local temples is the Church of the Holy Trinity. This rust-colored 14th century temple is located near the walls of the so-called Second Siege. It's not large inside, but it's worth visiting for its well-preserved medieval frescoes. Beyond the historical sites, many spots in the Berat citadel offer a beautiful view of the city and its surroundings. This will make you stop many times to admire the environment, and ultimately, visiting the castle is an attraction for even a whole day. For something completely modern after visiting the citadel, you can grab a drink at the Dum Dum car. The appeal is that the bar owner recognizes tourists by the language they speak and, upon hearing them, plays a music star from their country. We got Marila Radovic. Mr. Dum Dum, as we called him, plans to open more mobile Dum Dum car bars. When you meet him at the castle in Berat or anywhere else in Albania, you can tell him you've already heard about him from our video. And listen to some Polish music, although he will likely turn something on for you as soon as he sees you from afar. We wave goodbye to you from the fortress in Berat. We have some advice for those visiting Albania. If you are planning your own itinerary, Berat should be a mandatory stop on your program. This unique city is slowly being left behind us. Still deeply impressed by Berat, we are moving on to the next, also historic, Albanian city, Gjirokastër. See for yourself now if it's worth visiting. We also recommend the other episodes of our trip through Albania. Be sure to check if you are subscribed to our channel. Give us a thumbs up, and in the comments, write if you like the city of Berat or if you recommend other places in Albania. See you later. Welcome to our journey through Albania. In 2 weeks, we'll be visiting the country's most interesting sites. We recently admired the unique city of Berat. Now we're heading towards the also historic city of Gjirokastër. Before we begin admiring it, we check into the next hotel on this route. It's actually a guest house named after the city of Gjirokastër. It's easy to remember. Decorated in the style of Albanian houses, it features modern amenities including a cozy swimming pool, perfect for hot days. Friendly hosts will welcome you, and another advantage of the hotel is its proximity to the city's attractions. Everything is within walking distance. Historians believe that the seeds of a settlement may have existed here as early as the 4th century BC. The first mentions of the city come from Byzantine records from the 14th century. In the 10th century, the Ottoman Turks conquered the region and established Gjirokastër as the administrative center of the region. The city grew and began to expand beyond the walls of the local fortress. In the 19th century, Ali Pasha, the Ottoman governor, began to expand the city. After Albania regained independence in 1912, the city played a significant role in shaping the country's southern border with Greece. During World War II, Gjirokastër was first occupied by Italy and then by Germany. After the war, the communist regime of Enver Hoxha came. The famous dictator was born in Gjirokastër and therefore ensured the city's attractiveness. Today, Gjirokastër thrives primarily on tourism. Over the years, Gjirokastër has earned several famous nicknames. Due to the monument itself, it is called a museum city. Other nicknames include the City of Silver Roofs, the Stone City, and the City of 1,000 Steps. Walking through the city involves climbing numerous steps and walking up and down stairs. All these terms refer to the use of stones in the city's construction. From a distance, the roofs of the houses blend into a single gray-silver surface. The focal point of the Old Town is a distinctive square formed by the intersection of 5 streets. The Old Town is a true treasure trove of Ottoman architecture. The foundations of the entire urban layout were laid as early as the 10th century. Unfortunately, the districts were ravaged by numerous fires, and most of the surviving old buildings date from the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Gjirokastër comes to life slowly in the early mornings, but over time, everyone interested in browsing the numerous stalls in the old bazaar arrives. Near the old bazaar is the Bazaar Mosque. An inscription dating from 1754 appears on the building. However, its exact date of construction is unknown. Documents only mention its reconstruction after a fire in the 10th century. During the communist era, it was not demolished but instead converted into a training center for acrobats, supposedly made possible by its high dome. It is one of the most architecturally interesting Ottoman mosques in Albanian lands. Its distinctive features include a gallery added to the upper floor and a conical roof with a stone covering resting on an octagonal base. Interestingly, there's a cafe in the lower part of this mosque. Another attraction worth seeing up close is located nearby. Of course, you'll have to climb again, as you would anywhere in Gjirokastër. The Obelisk of Learning stands in a nearby square. It serves as a reminder of the opening of the city's first Albanian school in 1908. It's also worth visiting for the exceptional views of Gjirokastër, which are hard to find in the densely built-up Old Town. We head a little further out of the Old Town, and of course, this one also requires climbing. Overcoming the difference in elevation, we arrive at a unique monument in Gjirokastër, the Zekate House. A distinctive building with its massive stone wings and towers. At first glance, it resembles a castle. It was built in 1811 by one of the wealthy families living in Gjirokastër. The building has 4 stories. The ground floor was intended for storage rooms, cisterns, and a kitchen. Much higher up are the guest hall and living quarters, living rooms, and bedrooms. Everything is furnished with original and reconstructed period furnishings. Here, you can admire the beautifully carved wooden ceilings, colorful stained glass windows, and wall frescoes. The restroom, as you can see, has a small window, ensuring ventilation. On the top floor, you can admire the views from the terrace like a homeowner. The building is built on a hillside, offering exceptional views of the city and the castle hill opposite. The so-called kula were tower-shaped houses. They were designed to provide housing for the family while also acting as a small fortress to repel enemy attacks if necessary. The Zekate House is one of the few Ottoman-era buildings so well preserved, both inside and out. There's also an outdoor cafe run by the owners. It's the perfect place to relax while exploring the city, especially since it's a bit far from the center. We look toward the fortress, but before we head up the hill, we first head inside the hill 80 meters below the castle. We're standing by one of the former communist government buildings in Gjirokastër. This was one of the entrances to a secret tunnel. We pass through armored doors and airlocks into a damp, cold interior. This is a relic of Albania's communist era. In the 1970s, a bunkering program was underway. Several 100,000 of them were built. Residents were convinced that Albania could be attacked at any moment. Creating a sense of external threat allowed for control of society, but only for a select few were bunkers and shelters like this one prepared. The population had no idea what the dictator was creating. We showed you the largest shelter for Enver Hoxha in the episode about Tirana. This one was also prepared to accommodate a few days or weeks. The dictator also wanted a ready-made shelter in his hometown. The bunker was less than a kilometer long, had 4 entrances and exits, and 59 rooms. It was intended to house 200 people, the chosen few closest to the dictator. It took 10 years to build. Completed in 1980, the leader died 5 years later. It contained rooms with power generators, air supply systems, communication equipment, weapons, water tanks, a conference room, and living quarters. This was the room prepared for Enver Hoxha himself. The rooms, painted green, were for the highest-ranking dignitaries. There was also a kitchen, although the actual food was supposed to consist solely of canned goods, stored and replaced every 3 months. The old ones were given to officers, never to the people. The toilets here are of considerable interest. There were 3 for over 200 people, one of which was for the leader alone, so 2 such cubicles. We suspect that if the bunker had actually been occupied, a war would have broken out inside it. After the fall of communism, the building was plundered, often due to poverty and hatred of the dictatorship. Now the bunker tunnel is a tourist attraction. It is less renovated than the large main bunker in Tirana, but perhaps even more authentic. If you want to see Enver Hoxha's largest bunker in the country's capital, watch our episode about Tirana. We're leaving Albania's communist past behind. In the modern evening, we head out to sample Albanian specialties. A plate of Albanian dishes lands on the table. Let's start with a typical delicacy from the Gjirokastër, kiauki. Fried rice balls are usually made from a combination of rice, eggs, dried mint, olive oil, salt, and black pepper. They're accompanied by koftë visi, meatballs similar to our ground meatballs. This is jatrak. The filling consists of a mixture of ground meat and rice. This is wrapped in grape leaves or leaves of a vegetable called Dalmatian cabbage. This is a variation of bajrek with spinach. Albania is also a country where you can try delicious local cheeses. This time we have goat cheese. In the center of the bowl is fergus, a cheese and vegetable paste. And of course, as always, you get bread everywhere and with everything in Albania. As always, We devour Albanian dishes with great enthusiasm, because they are simply delicious. You can discover other Albanian delicacies in the remaining episodes of our series. Meanwhile, the city comes alive at night. It's true that during the day, during the season, it's also crowded, but in the evenings, even more locals and tourists appear on the streets of the Old Town. Thanks to the many hills, numerous stairs, and the considerable heat in summer, exploring Gjirokastër is quite a challenge. But as you can see, most people still have the energy to take advantage of the numerous bars, restaurants, and clubs. Gjirokastër is simply buzzing in the evening and at night. Apparently, the heart of the stone city isn't made of stone at all. Instead, it's eager to smile, have fun, listen to music, and dance. To enjoy the pleasures of life. If your hotel has a pool, maybe this is the evening option for you. Our hotel, Gjirokastër, offered this perfect way to relax in the evening. Perfect after a hot day. Time to visit Gjirokastër's greatest monument. It rises proudly above the silver roofs. The first stronghold was built here in the 11th century, but some fortifications may have existed here even earlier. The castle was rebuilt in the 10th century and then again in the 19th century by the Ottoman governor Ali Pasha, whom we already know from many castles throughout Albania. The fortress rises to a height of over 300 meters. The entire complex is 500 meters long and 75 meters wide. The fortress is surrounded by massive defensive walls and the remains of 5 towers and 3 entrance gates. Inside, visitors can experience the thrill of exploring this centuries-old fortress. It is so vast that one could almost get lost. At various times, the castle also served as a prison. During the communist era, it was also used to hold political prisoners. In one of the more tranquil sections, we reach the tomb of the Bektashi clergy who once lived in the city. Bektashi clergy, or father, is the 4th highest rank of Bektashi clergy. The most impressive is the enormous hall known as the Cannon Alley. It's part of the local weapons museum, which collects equipment primarily from the Balkan Wars, the First World War, and World War II. Besides the aforementioned cannons, you'll also see an Italian tankette, mortars, light weapons, and ammunition. Those who want more can also explore the entire military museum. We exit the fortress to the outer part. Here we encounter an American reconnaissance plane. According to the Albanians, they forced the pilot to land in 1957. According to the Americans, the pilot simply had to make an emergency landing, and then the Albanians took over. The pilot reportedly survived. In the central part of the fortress is the stage where Albania's largest folklore festival takes place. Perhaps the most popular feature at the far end of the fortress is the clock tower, founded by Ali Pasha in the 19th century. The clock was intended to help Muslims keep track of prayer times. The clock tower is probably the most photographed feature here. For the most discerning visitors, exploring the entire fortress at Gjirokastër can take many hours. We take another look at the entire castle hill, recalling all the emotions that not only the fortress itself but also the entire town of Gjirokastër offers visitors. Among the stone buildings and silver roofs lie fascinating stories and unique monuments. With more time, you'll discover even more places here than we've shown. Climbing these hills may be a struggle, but you'll certainly remember it fondly. We're saying goodbye to Gjirokastër and heading towards the coast. We'll be back by the sea in the cities of Sarandë and Ksamil. See these Albanian beach tourism hits in the next installment of our journey through Albania. We'll soon show you Albania's most beautiful beaches and busiest resorts. We'll peer deep into the blue sky and visit an ancient city founded before our era. We invite you on a journey to places hidden from the world for years. From wild mountain peaks to picturesque valleys, stone-lined towns, and turquoise sea waters.
Welcome to Albania, or Myre Sevini Nipëri. Is Albania mountainous or coastal, traditional or modern, eastern or western? Or perhaps all three? It's a land of many contrasts. Discover it with us on our 2-week journey through Albania. A.
Land of great heroes, fearless leaders, and powerful people. Ancient secrets that permeate modern life. Authentic places where every moment carries history. A harmony of cultures, religions, and respect for diversity. Albania awaits those who desire to discover its multicolored mosaic. Let's begin. Albania, Part 7. Sarandë, Ksamil, and the surrounding area. Welcome to our journey through Albania. Over the course of 2 weeks, we visit the most interesting places in this country. In the previous installment, we showed you the historic city of Gjirokastër. Now we're heading south and towards the sea. It's time for the Albanian Riviera and the famous cities of Sarandë and Ksamil. To explore this region, we choose a hotel in Sarandë. Since we're spending several days here, we chose the comfortable Hotel Julia. Beautiful interiors and a spectacular view. Furthermore, it's close to the sea and the city center, and below the hotel there's a swimming pool for hotel guests. Sarandë is a city that captivates with its picturesque setting on a curving bay of the Ionian Sea. From a distance, Sarandë looks like an amphitheater over the water. The city's buildings climb the slopes surrounding the bay, opposite the Greek island of Corfu. Due to its mild Mediterranean climate and location, the city has become one of the most important tourist centers in the country. In Roman and Byzantine times, Sarandë served as a trading port. Throughout its turbulent history, Sarandë has been claimed by Greeks, Byzantines, Romans, Turks, Ottomans, Italians, and even Germans. Today, Sarandë is one of the centers of the Greek minority in Albania. In 1912, after the proclamation of Albanian independence, Sarandë had only 110 inhabitants. Today, it is a city of 40. Sarandë is considered the unofficial capital of the Albanian Riviera. It can be a destination in itself or a base for excursions around the region. A large portion of Sarandë's visitors are beachgoers. They don't have to go outside the city to enjoy sunbathing and the sea. The city beach is located in the heart of the city. A wide seaside boulevard, reminiscent of a Mediterranean resort, runs along the shore, offering views of the turquoise waters and moored boats in the marina. Numerous bars and cafes can also be found off the beach. Sarandë's marina is full of both elegant yachts and traditional fishing boats. From here, you can embark on numerous cruises around the bay, along the coast, or to the nearby Greek island of Corfu. Water sports enthusiasts will also have plenty to do. Unfortunately, Sarandë has its ups and downs. It's practically crowded during the season. Tourists are everywhere at all times of the day. Those dreaming of a quiet, peaceful vacation won't be satisfied. Driving around Sarandë is a nightmare. The city is usually paralyzed by traffic. If you're driving your own car, finding parking is next to impossible. If you plan to stay overnight here and have a car, check if the hotel has its own parking lot. Let's move on to the city's architecture, which is practically paved over. It's growing at a tremendous pace. Construction is happening at every turn. And space for large hotels is extremely limited. Buildings are located at incredibly close distances from each other. We don't know if anyone has any plans for Sarandë's future, or if the most important thing is to sell another plot of land for another grand hotel or apartment building. If you want to do more in Sarandë than just enjoy the pleasures of a seaside resort, you can visit the Museum of Traditions and the Archaeological Museum. The Museum of Traditions in Sarandë is located near the city's waterfront. This intimate space offers a glimpse into the region's rich history and culture. The museum exhibits traditional costumes, folk musical instruments, hand-woven carpets, and weaving workshops. Among the exhibits are also old photographs illustrating the changes the city has undergone over the decades. The exhibitions are spread over 2 floors, allowing you to immerse yourself in the diverse aspects of local tradition. As part of the same tour, you'll also visit the Archaeological Museum nearby. It was created to preserve a mosaic discovered in the 1960s in the former post office building. This mosaic, dating back to the 6th century, comes from the floor of an ancient basilica. This discovery highlights the long history of settlement in this region, as well as Sarandë's importance as a major center during the early Christian era. The exhibition also includes other artifacts and photographs documenting archaeological sites from Sarandë and the surrounding area. The museum is very small, essentially a single room. However, you'll meet a passionate guide who once led tours of archaeological sites in Albania. She imparts a wealth of fascinating historical information to anyone interested in a very accessible way. This makes the entire archaeological museum exhibition clear and understandable. At the beginning of your tour, you'll be provided with many interesting facts and tips about popular sites. Even those daunted by the small exhibition, the guide will captivate you with her stories, and you're sure to leave, as we were. For another dose of historical knowledge, head a little outside the center of Sarandë to a nearby hill overlooking the city. Here lies Rozafa Castle. Dating back to the 15th century, it was built by Sultan Suleiman. It most likely served to control the port of Sarandë. The walls reach 7 meters high and are 2 meters thick. The castle housed a garrison of around 200 soldiers. Now privately owned, it is a tourist attraction, primarily for its views of Sarandë. There is a restaurant and a park. Few tourists visit during the day. However, it's a very popular attraction in the evenings due to the spectacular sunsets over the bay. The view from the castle over Sarandë is also impressive. Walking at the foot of the mountain, you'll encounter relatively well-preserved bunkers. These are no longer relics of the Ottoman era, but of the communist era. We showed you bunkers, shelters, and gigantic tunnels in the episodes about Tirana and Gjirokastër. But at the same time, small defensive bunkers were also being built, controlling strategic locations from the perspective of communist dictator Enver Hoxha. Several 100,000 of them were built across Albania. Now, these small, ordinary ones are simply falling into disrepair. Although, of course, tourists like us must visit them. Loaded with a generous dose of knowledge and history, we're now off to fill our bellies with Albanian delicacies. We can wholeheartedly recommend the Hati restaurant in Sarandë, whose name means pilgrim. We're staying at a pilgrim's house, and here we find souvenirs from all over the world. We don't know if the owner travels this way, or if the guests bring these souvenirs from all over the world. The food is paramount here. Since we're by the sea, seafood reigns supreme, but not exclusively. For an appetizer, we order grilled eggplant and other vegetables, aromatically seasoned. This is baked feta cheese. In Albania, you can try many cheeses and you won't be disappointed. They're also served baked here. And if it's seafood, you can order an octopus salad as an appetizer. Simply the quintessence of the sea. Hati also has fantastic fried seafood. The crucial process of dividing the meal is underway, as things are starting to get dangerous. But you probably have larger pieces. And yes, we always have. A picture of juicy, spicy shrimp here. Let's not forget that we're close to Greece, and it's Greek cuisine that makes up our moussaka. Finally, you can't go to Albania without trying the famous national dish, tawek kosi. Lamb is baked in a clay pot in a batter of sour milk, eggs, flour, and butter. Salt, pepper, garlic, and oregano complete this deliciousness. You'll always find bread with every meal in Albania. The chef at Hati also likes to treat his guests to a treat at the end of the meal. We got the famous Albanian watermelon and the famous Albanian alcohol, also known as Albanian moonshine or Reiki. You can discover other Albanian delicacies in the remaining parts of our Albanian trip. Over the bay in Sarandë, you can admire charming sunsets. And this is another moment of peace and quiet. But right after dark, Sarandë sets off at full speed. Tourists are leaving their hotels and apartments en masse to head out into the city. Night cruises are already ready to depart from the port. And thousands of tourists are ready to enjoy the nightlife of the famous Albanian resort. The number of people here is indescribable. Crowds are everywhere. It's a good thing the seaside promenade is so wide, as pedestrians simply can't fit on the regular sidewalks. Traffic on the streets is practically at a standstill. Those who prefer secluded spots and quiet evenings won't find their way here, of course. But those who enjoy a bit of extravagance on their vacation will certainly be pleased. Now that we've experienced the madness of Sarandë, It's time to leave the city and commune with beautiful nature and discover a small natural wonder. We drive 25 kilometers from Sarandë, surrounded by dense forests, lush vegetation, and mountains. Of course, there are crowds here too. Entrance to the park is free, and then you decide how to proceed. You can either take a short walk of about 15 minutes, rent a scooter, bicycle, or take this unique train ride. It's probably obvious why we chose this. Upon arrival, a unique natural phenomenon unfolds before everyone's eyes. It's a karst spring called the Blue Eye. The exact depth has yet to be fully explored. Divers have reached approximately 50 meters. The water temperature is 10 degrees Celsius. Swimming is prohibited here. Unfortunately, some tourists ignore this. We peer into the spring through the lens of our camera. The Bistris River originates here. Besides its visual appeal, the Blue Eye also has cultural significance. The water from the spring has been used by local residents for centuries. The spring was considered a magical eye of nature, protecting the area from evil forces. The tourist infrastructure in the area has developed to provide comfortable opportunities for spending time among the numerous streams. We now head south, almost on the border with Greece. Our destination is Butrint. The ancient city, a fortress, is now, as you can see, besieged by tourists. As is almost always the case, parking spaces are scarce. This is something you simply have to get used to in Albania. The ancient port city of Butrint is a significant part of the history of the Mediterranean world. It sits on a hill surrounded on three sides by water between Lake Butrint and the Vivali Canal. The history of this place is a journey through several historical eras, beginning in the 6th century BC. The ancient city and its heritage hold testaments to Greek, Roman, Byzantine, Venetian, and Ottoman culture and civilization. The remains of buildings that have survived to this day were built in various centuries and civilizations. First, we are greeted by the Venetian Tower, but that's why the history of this place is almost as recent as it is today. It dates back to the 10th century. Through a vast area with lush vegetation, we reach the Agora, a central place where ancient inhabitants gathered to listen to speeches, trade, or march off to war. The most distinctive feature of the Agora is the well-preserved amphitheater. Built in the 2nd century BC, it was thoroughly rebuilt by the Romans in the 2nd century. It could seat 1,500 spectators. Next to the theater are the remains of the temple of Asclepius, the god of medicine, built in the early 2nd century AD. Pilgrims came here hoping for healing. After leaving the agora, the path leads to a building dating back to the 2nd century AD. It is believed to have been a gymnasium or a private home. Eventually, the building was converted into a church. We come face to face with the baptismal hall, or baptismal building. The baptistry in Butrint was the second largest of its kind in the entire Byzantine Empire, built in the 6th century. The most valuable element of these historic buildings is the mosaic floor, the most complex mosaic decorating baptistries from that period. Unfortunately, more attention could be paid to its display. Meanwhile, you have to imagine it. You can look at the photo, because it's usually covered with sand to prevent deterioration. This is an Albanian method of protection. A truly impressive monument here is the well-preserved basilica. Built at the same time as the baptismal site, in the early 6th century, it was richly decorated. Its floor was also covered with mosaics, likely made by the same craftsman who created the one in the baptismal site. Unfortunately, this one has not survived. However, walking among these centuries-old walls, where the Byzantines prayed, is quite an experience. One of the best preserved gates in the defensive walls is the Lion Gate. At 3.5 meters high, it is almost perfectly preserved. Its construction dates back to the 1st century BC. The name comes from a bas-relief depicting a lion, although, to be honest, it more closely resembles a boar. Farther up, on the highest part of the hill, stands the Acropolis, surrounded by the oldest walls, built in the 6th century BC. The local castle was reconstructed in the 1930s. Today, it houses a museum showcasing the history of Butrint. For many tourists, the beautiful views are paramount. Admiring them is a well-deserved form of relaxation after climbing the mountain. Summer is very hot here, and the hike is very strenuous. Those who still have the energy can take a ferry across the Varvary Canal. A Venetian triangular castle is located here. It was supposedly built in the 10th century by the Venetian Republic and served to protect the local fishing grounds. Another place worth seeing is the castle of the Ottoman magnate Ali Pasha. You can find many of his castles throughout Albania, and we've shown them in other parts of our series. This one was built at the mouth of the Varvary Canal in the early 19th century. Due to its location on an island amidst backwaters, it's not easily accessible. You have to use the services of boats that reach the site. There is no land route. Besides its archaeological sites, Butrint National Park is also rich in natural beauty. The lake, islands, and wetlands boast a huge diversity of fauna and flora. Over 240 species of birds, 100 species of fish, and nearly 40 species of mammals. After a generous dose of historical knowledge, we return to the present day and the pleasures of mundane life. Some call it the pearl in the Albanian crown. It's time to find out and visit Ksamil. The town is actually very small, with a permanent population of just a few thousand. To discover what's truly special, you have to make your way through the strip of newly built hotels and then reach the shores of the beautiful Ionian Sea. Ksamil is undoubtedly the most popular seaside resort on the Albanian Riviera. Nature has made this place so unique. Once on the beach, everyone understands Ksamil's nickname, the Albanian Maldives. The sea here creates beautiful, heavenly colors, and the sandy shore gives the impression of having arrived on a tiny piece of land in the ocean. 3 islets located offshore add to the charm, and even further, the island of Corfu. Although from a distance, the coastline appears uniform, it is divided into several beaches. Most of them are private. To lie down here, you have to buy a spot on a sunbed under an umbrella. The definite downside of this town is the sheer number of tourists. The charm of this coastline is lost in the crowds. Sunbed by sunbed. And that's how you spend a dream beach time. One of the famous spots is a giant, hand-shaped pedestal jutting out into the sea. A souvenir photo here is like a seal of approval for your stay at Ksamil Beach. Of course, we couldn't resist this pleasure. From the Ksamil Marina, you can also take boat cruises along the coast, to nearby islets, and to the Greek island of Corfu. From a distance, the coastline of Albania's holiday hit, Ksamil, looks its best. We return to Sarandë, as this is the last stop in our Albania series. We spent an intense 2 weeks in this country. It was our first time in Albania and we were deeply interested in exploring the vibrant life in this part of southern Europe. Albania is slowly becoming a European resort, like the Mediterranean tourist hotspots. It's making a huge impact in this direction. Some changes are happening too quickly, others too slowly. We've seen a lot here, but as always, there's still much to be seen. Albania's undeniable strengths are its rich and interesting history and stunning nature. All of this makes it worth exploring. In many ways, Albania is still wild, untamed, and unpolished. This can sometimes be a drawback, but it can also be an asset. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Check out the other episodes of our series on Albania. See you in our next travels.